Hi everyone. Sorry that this is getting to you just a little bit later than I thought. My 1 year old had shots yesterday and he's been just a little bit fussy, so hopefully he'll let me get through this. Um, just want to piggyback on last week's discussions, just make a few comments on that. Y'all did such a good job and you were very respectful to one another as always, which I really appreciate because this is a little bit of a hot topic. And I really appreciate y'all's views on the Samuel Jackson Red book, and I do want to apologize. I forgot about some of the security measures that some of the school systems have enacted, and so there are certain YouTube videos that you can't access easily. But I mean, if you did want to go look at that on your own, you are certainly free to do so. It's never my intention to offend anyone, just to show you what's out there and why it could possibly be deemed offensive. So, very good job. Your next major paper, as I said, I pushed it back just a little bit because I got the sense, especially from my dual enrollment students that I teach on campus, that they were very, very busy. So hopefully after next week, it won't be quite so busy for a lot of you. So we're going to do a literary analysis. And so an analysis is not a summary or critique of a work. It is an argument about the story that shows the writer's personal, which you being the writer of the essay, personal perspective, interpretation, and critical evaluation of the work. So you can pick any piece of literature we have explored so far. You could do the haikus, you could do Fahrenheit 451, my kid's dog, the lovely F-bomb book we just read in class, anything that we've read in class. And you're going to analyze it using elements of the story and some that you can, some of the criteria that you can use. And you do not have to cover all of them, but just pick a few of them. The genre, like Fahrenheit 451 being a graphic novel, how did that impact you reading it? Characters or character development, main ideas slash plot, theme, symbolism, structure, writing style, like with Starfish, how it was written in free verse poetry form. Did that impact the way you read it? So here's just some examples. If you want to use one of these, you can, but you are in no way tied into them. You can come up with your own. In Fahrenheit 451, Montag struggles with his society's desire for conformity through ignorance and his desire for individuality and knowledge. And this sets him on a path that ultimately saves his life. Or in the story of The Good Little Boy, Twain uses dark humor to show the dangers of doing the right things for the wrong reasons. In Starfish, Ellie experiences bullying mostly at the hands of her mother, and the book is written in poetry form to show this because writing is how Ellie deals with stress and is able to best express herself. In Your Go the F to Sleep, Monsbach ironically uses the format of a children's book to give a relatable message for parents that is humorous to some but not appropriate for others and should be banned for younger audiences. So basically, what you need to do is just find something about one of the things that we've read this semester so far to explore more in depth. So let's, for example, say you pick the first example. So you might want to give some background on the character of Montag, just to kind of let the audience know, show how he undergoes the change using plot elements like how he finds the book, how he's hiding the book, how he recites the poetry to his friends, what ultimately leads him to the secret society where people memorize the books. Bring in how the books represent knowledge that is being denied, why they ban these books in the first place, and how it actually isn't doing what they say it's supposed to be doing, and how that thirst for knowledge ultimately saves him from the nuclear fate at the end. You could also hit on like how the reading it as a graphic novel impacted your reading and interpretation of the story, because often we're kind of left to our imaginations to kind of figure out what these characters look like, how they're actually interacting with each other, and a graphic novel kind of does some of that for us to an extent. And sometimes the characters aren't always exactly how we thought that they should look. It's kind of like when they adapt a book into a movie where we're like, wow, I didn't really expect the character to look like that, or I think that that was a wrong casting choice. You can kind of explore how the format impacted your reading of the book. I give another example. So if you want to hit the 4 to 5 criteria. So you could take Starfish and you can have a paragraph that introduces the book. Then have a section devoted to discussing the genre of the book, how it's young adult fiction, and what characteristics of that genre that book has. The next paragraph could be discussing who the characters are and their influence on the plot. Next, you could address any major themes or symbols that you detect in the story, and then you can make a comment about the structure of the book. And if you do something like that, they're not always necessarily, the paragraphs are not necessarily all going to be related, but you're just kind of hitting on some of these elements that instead of like the previous example where they kind of build on each other, this you're just kind of hitting on some elements and going, hey, this is my critical response to these different elements of this particular book. As I said, you can pick any book that we have studied, construct that 2 to 3 page literary analysis formatted in MLA, if you remember how to do that. If not, there are lots of online tutorial guides that cover some of these points that I have given to you. So you do not have to bring in any outside sources. You can if you want to, and if you do bring in an outside source, just make sure that you're citing it correctly. This is supposed to be your own interpretation and analysis of the text, because part of what this class is supposed to do is let you explore literature and figure out how it speaks to you and how you see it in the broader context of the world versus trying to hear what everyone else is telling you that it's doing. So there's not really a right or wrong answer to this. It's what you are interpreting the text as, and as long, sorry, baby's getting fuzzy, and as long as you can defend it with those examples from the books, you'll be fine. Now, if I grade it and I feel like you didn't really go in depth enough in one area, I might ask you to revise, and you can always revise to get full credit. So don't be upset like if you turn in your paper and you're like, oh my gosh, I got an 85. I'm really trying to get that A. If you do the revisions that I suggest, you can still make an A on the paper. This is a no stress class. At least I try to make it a no stress class because I want you to be more concerned about your learning and what you want to learn versus, oh my gosh, I've got to make a perfect grade on this paper here. It can always be revised. So it is due on 11/12/23, which is a Sunday at 11:59 p.m. If you are having any struggles or you don't know what topic you want to write about, feel free to give me a call. Again, 615-478-9782. I have helped many an online student over a phone conversation decide exactly what they want to write about. You're also free to email me or text me or however you'd like to communicate. Set up a Zoom and I'll be glad to help you come up with something if you are struggling. So I will post a student example. It's not from a book that we read in this particular class. It was one of my lit classes where we read another book, but it's a really, really good example of just a basic literary analysis for students giving their own interpretation of the text. And so I will be posting that in this course announcement. So you can also take a look at that. If you feel like you need some more examples, I'll be happy to go over some more with you. I can send you some. As I said, set up a Zoom. We can go over a few examples if you need some help. Also, if you want me to take a quick look at your paper before you turn it in, just give me a few days. Like, don't try to email it to me on the day that it's due and say, hey, please look at this so I can make sure it's all fine. Just give me a few days. I'll be happy to glance over it to make sure you're on the right track. So I hope y'all have a fabulous weekend. Those of you who are in bands, which my daughter's in band, good luck at Contest of Champions if that's where you're going. And for those of you who are in sports and whatnot, enjoy your last football game and try to get some rest this weekend.